don't know if it's going to make a difference. Yeah,
Well, since we started this conversation in the spirit of Joe Rogan, I hope you don't mind if I. Oh, well,
you can light up a joint. Classic.
My name is Dave Gardner. I facilitate a space within my workshops for people to experience themselves and their interactions with their environment. We also have the possibility to have a conversation with our movement with another person, and this is a space where people get to learn through direct experience.
I'll give a little recap on what I know about your background and what you've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're a Budokan practitioner, practice jiu-jitsu. You could correct me. I'm just going to throw things out there, and you let me know if I said something that was not exactly accurate. Budokan practitioner, student of Tomislav English, student of Tom Wexler, jiu-jitsu practitioner. You've played with dance, but that wouldn't be your main. That's not your main pursuit, or that's not the main thing you've immersed yourself in. And you do this for a living, from what I understand. This is what you do. You travel, you teach. I don't know if you compete, or if you've competed in the past. This is where my knowledge starts to slowly fade. This is like the box that I put Dave Gardner in.
Yeah, it sounds it's pretty. You're a good listener.
Thank you.
You're a good observer.
So let's start with martial arts. When did you get into martial arts, and how did you get into it?
So, I think the fascination has always been there. Like as a kid, you know. I think every kid, when they first saw Bruce Lee, is like, "Holy shit!" You know, that, like, is he a man? You know, or is he a god? So I definitely remember having that fascination, and then I did karate as a kid. I never liked the violence, like, you know, depending on your interpretation of that word, but I loved the power and the form and the feeling. And my sensei actually committed suicide. And I was like, I felt kind of like, fuck, what am I going to do now?
How old were you when that happened? And how many years
7.
were you working with this
About 2 years.
teacher?
I started when I was 5. And then I was like 2 years in, and, you know, we were doing our thing. I think I feel like I must have done it like 3 times a week.
Okay.
Like after school, twice in the week, and then once on a Saturday. And
did you even have a concept of what suicide was when you were 7?
exactly, man. It was. I've been unpacking this because I've been telling the story like more and more often because I've been looking at it. And I asked my mom, and I was like,
who tells their kid that, oh, you know, your teacher just killed himself?
My mom did. My mom
Okay.
did. She was like, yeah, he's gone. He's like,
He took his
he's
own
done.
life?
Yeah.
Okay.
And from what I remember, I'm pretty sure he hung himself.
Okay.
So I remember the afternoon that it happened. Like, I remember driving in the car with my mom, and she was like, told me, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you don't really know what to make out of that kind of information once it hits you, because, I mean, he was close. He was part of your life. He was your teacher, but I don't know how close you guys were.
No, I mean, we weren't like I mean,
But it was more than an
acquaintance. I remember respecting him. I remember respecting him and being like, and I also related to him because he was like, at that time I was very chubby, like from when I was 6 till 14, I was like
You mentioned that
quite
at the
overweight.
workshop, and I didn't believe you. You're like, you told me you used to be chubby, and I was like, nah, there's no way.
Yeah. Well, I was overweight. I was fat. I wasn't chubby. I was like obese.
Oui.
And
Okay.
he was the big dude. He was quite overweight, you know? So he wasn't like this graceful like ninja. He was like fucking like a powerhouse, you know? Big dude, like big hands but I also might have just seen him that way because I was like small and he was.
Yeah, that does definitely play a role.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
looks majestic and huge when you're small, when you're a kid.
I still kind of feel like that though. I'm like, oh, wow.
Well, yeah, from the pictures you've been posting and the videos you've been posting on Instagram, you're in environments that kind of make you feel small.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like when you highline or when you surf or when you skydive or when you rock climb, when you do these kinds of activities and you interact with nature. I mean, even just plain old hiking, you know, hiking in a
Yeah, dude.
in a majestic natural environment, you feel small.
Yeah. I think I'm kind of addicted to that feeling, to be honest.
I
Yeah,
would be
exactly.
if I
So
was in the environment. It seems like it's all around you, no? You keep posting
I kind
pictures
of,
like that, and I'm like, where does this guy live?
yeah, dude. I make a very conscious effort to like constantly put myself in inspiring environments.
Let's bring it back to the martial arts, though.
So I was doing that, and then I really got into my school sport, and never, didn't pick up any martial arts again. Played rugby, like really enjoyed the physicality of rugby. Wish we had been like taught jujitsu at the same time as we were doing rugby because it would have made perfect sense.
Yeah.
And judo and stuff. And then after school, I really got into photography and doing a whole bunch of other stuff. And I met someone who introduced me to my Muay Thai crew. And I did Muay Thai with this guy quite rigorously for like 2-3 years, like training like 5 times a week.
Okay.
And I was like really like when I met him, I was 92 kilograms.
Okay.
Like I was fucking overweight. I was unfit. I hadn't really done much after school besides be behind my camera and like, smoke a lot of marijuana.
I was wondering about marijuana in Johannesburg. I don't know what this attitude towards it is. I mean, the rest of the world is kind of coming to terms with it, but I have no idea what it's like over there. But we'll leave that for later.
So I really got into Muay Thai, and he's a deep guy. We're still very good friends. He started introducing me to mantra, and he like started giving me books on Zen, and he was and he'd like fucking kick my ass and like completely destroy me, like and it was a powerful time, and I was like, wow, and he wanted me to compete, and I was like, dude, I can't like get in a ring with another human, and like I just can't do it. It's just not in my nature.
Which is something you realized at a very young age, because you said
exactly
with karate you didn't like the violence aspect of it. You liked
and I even struggled like in sports competitively. I was like, I was always like in the A team and stuff, but I was like, can't we just play rather? Why do we have to like beat one another? Why do we have to win? And so Muay Thai, and then he would do some meditation with me, and I started to read a lot more, and I started to read a lot about yoga and a lot about meditation. And then I met a girl, and her family was really into yoga, and like I did one Ashtanga class, and I was just like and I was like, sweet, what is this world about? And I did so many different kinds of yoga.
That's strange, though, that you say that, because I remember my first yoga class and I was not sold. I wasn't like, yeah, I
No?
love this. It was more like, I hate this. This is like really, really painful. The flexibility was painful. The balancing, the sweating, it was. I was sweating trying to balance on one foot, and my hamstrings were on fire, and it
Yeah.
all felt wrong. My body was just like, stop doing what you're doing and get the hell out of here.
Sure. I've
Um,
had a few of those experiences for sure, yeah. But like, I don't know, man. I just got so into it and met my first yoga teacher in 2012
mhm.
and trained with him and went to India with him and then met his teacher, who's Simon Borg-Olivier. I mentioned you to him, the Yoga Synergy dude.
I think you told me.
Um, yeah, and then I trained with Simon. I went to India with Simon, and then I started to through because Synergy has these kind of soft martial arts influences from Qigong and Tai Chi, and it's kind of got these, this feeling of like fluidity and circularity, and I was like, wow, this feels like what we would do in the warm-ups in Muay Thai. I was like, what are these connections? So I started to look at that a lot more, and then I found Budokan, and I was like, sweet, this has got like the yoga forms, it's got martial arts forms, it's not just doing striking, it's doing jiu-jitsu as well. It's got like calisthenic conditioning. Let me check this out. And that was in 2015. And then, yeah, in 17?
Last year?
2017, no, not last year.
Yeah, okay. We're already in 2019. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
2017 went to Miami to train at the academy. Like it was my second or third time there at the Budokan Academy, and I met Tom English. He was there doing his training there, and
What do you mean by
we just
training?
played
Teaching
like
a workshop, or he was training with?
he was doing a month. He was doing the first belt in Budokan.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we were just jamming like every day, and I was just like, "What is this stuff?" Because he was sharing some acrobatics, some coordination stuff, and some floor work, and I was just like, "Whoa, man! Like, where does this rabbit hole end?" like,
It doesn't.
yeah, exactly, and 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 he was like, "Yo, dude, you just need to hang out with some more dancers and more acrobats and stuff." And I got back to South Africa, and that's when I met Leela, who you met in
Yep.
Berlin as well.
She's your
And
partner.
then, well, no, we were lovers,
Okay.
but we're really good friends, and yeah, we let go of the lover thing.
All right.
Um,
Yeah, I
but
think back when I
we
met you,
still work.
you were sort of. I thought you were together.
Yeah. We kind of were. We were still in the lover thing was still strong.
Okay.
But yeah, we're still really good friends, and obviously we're working together and stuff.
Yeah, that's why I assumed you guys were still together, because you posted a few videos on Instagram.
Exactly. Yeah.
You practicing together, and yeah, it was a fair, it was a just assumption.
So started moving with Leela, and obviously she's a dancer. Like that's her, that's her
But
background.
she done martial arts as well, I think. Yeah.
Well, her main teacher is in France, and he's a wushu, like that's his life. His dad was a sifu, like he was born into it.
Okay,
He
so
went,
it's like a third generation wushu master.
yeah. He went to Shaolin and he lived there, and then he got later, interesting conversations. In order to make a living, got into circus and acrobatics, and then teaching that and performing. Which I think quite a few fair, quite a a few wushu people do that. You know, I mean, they have their own performance that they go around the world and yeah, so started dancing with her, and then met Richard, my other friend. He's like big into the FRC stuff and also Rafe Kelly's stuff. So started doing a whole bunch of other shit, and yeah, dude. And then
Just snowballed.
it's just been a snowball, man. And then came to Berlin. Oh, Tom started following Tom Wexler's stuff in 2017 as well, because Tom English was like, dude, check this dude out. Check this, like, follow these people, Fighting Monkey, yeah, came to Berlin, and then
you attended a dance festival. The B12 dance workshops, which
exactly,
when I first went to those, I didn't even know it was a dance festival. I thought it was just workshops. I didn't know that everybody that would attend
would be dancers,
would be professional dancers, and that really opened my eyes to how I'm being hard on myself, but how incompetent I am in my own body compared to some of these people. Like
hey man,
it was unbelievable.
At least we're consciously incompetent.
Exactly.
Dude.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, and it's something. It's quite something, you know, especially in all these fields, fitness world, the martial arts world. There's a lot of ego. There's a lot of ego, and
yeah, man.
You know, they always say leave the ego at the door, but I think it's not about leaving the ego at the door. It's about putting yourself in environments where there's not just people that are better than you, in environments where you literally suck.
Definitely, man.
And I think dance is just one of those fields. You know, you really need to make yourself vulnerable and expose yourself to be able to dance well.
Fuck yeah, man.
Which it goes in direct opposition to what you find in martial arts. Like in jiu-jitsu, you're making yourself vulnerable in a different way. You're putting yourself in the hands of another person that knows how to choke you out, you know, and you don't know how to do that. But when you dance and you have to improvise and express yourself, and it's just really, really, really awkward in the beginning. It's unbelievably painful.
Yeah.
For me, it was unbelievably painful.
For sure, man. But I think that's why I love Tom and Tom's approach, because like I feel like it's not about expression, you know. They're just like
which Tom?
Both Toms, I feel. Tomislav English and Wexler.
I feel like Tomislav English's approach is more of a training approach, whereas the Tom Wexler's approach is about expression, more about expression than training. But it does have a large element of it. It would be training.
I think what I'm trying to say is that I feel like they're not like, obviously Tom English's, the workshops are not like that. But even the coordination stuff, for example, it's not like express yourself, you know? It's like, no, let's like make the movement really efficient and like be very clear and zen up here. And then the expression will come, you know, as a result of efficient, effective movement. And I even then when I went to go train with Yesu in France, so that's Lila's teacher, the Wushu dude, he's the same, you know. He's like, because I was like, Kung Fu's like, you know, and he was like, no, like it looks like that, but really we're trying to find fluid pathways where we're playing with weight and playing with gravity, and then, you know, maybe that's with another person or depending on what the environment is. And then it gives this like illusion of expression. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, I hear what you're saying.
At least you should be
consciously incompetent. Yes. Some of you climbed all 4 of the stages in the sequence. Right? You went to conscious competence, and then unconscious competence. Right? Rhythms, and then you feel, right, the flow of be okay with where you are, right? Yes, it's a little bit challenging, but everything's challenging. I'm giving you things that you can't do. Why would I give you things that you can do? Right? Why would I go, okay, let's do this? You can all do that. No? You've got a problem.
I had this interview with Ian Borokovich the other day, and one of the things that he finds extremely, how would I phrase this? One of the things that really draws him towards learning skills is the element of trickery, or you use the word illusion, but in juggling, you could juggle and you could do a pattern that kind of telegraphs that you're going to go in that direction, and your attention is drawn here,
Right.
but the trick is actually happening here.
Right.
And I'm basically playing you. And once the trick happens, you're like, wait, how did that happen? How did he pull that off? And then you try to figure it out, and he tricks you again and again and again. It's an illusion. There's actually a technique behind it. He's doing something. He's like, I don't know, he's doing something with the balls. But I was thinking about that, and I was like, that's the most playful element in jiu-jitsu, for example. When you set something up, when you use something as bait, or in striking, when you kind of telegraph something intentionally so that you elicit a reaction that you can capitalize on. And I'm just curious, what you think about that, and also, what is it? What would something that you find extremely interesting in all of these disciplines that you practice? Because you practice dance, you practice yoga, you practice jiu-jitsu, you practice Budokan, you practice striking. Is there something of a similar, something that's similar to this, in the sense that is there something like that motivates you towards learning it, learning the skill, learning jiu-jitsu, learning? Is it the rhythmicality of it? Is it the dance element of it? Is it the trickery? Is it the... I mean, it's all of it, but is there something that really captivates you?
I think what captivates me is the presence, the focus, and being in the process. Like, I have a very and this is what I felt in B12. I was like, wow, look at how I'm approaching this intellectually. I'm trying to understand it theoretically before I feel it. And I've noticed that throughout my experience so far, I've waved in and out of that. So like I've approached something because I'm like, oh, I want to be fitter. I want to be stronger. Like coming with a very I need to start moving again. And let me understand this. Like, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? What do I need to know in order to do it? I was like, what? That's like very interesting. So there's like this intellectual stimulation. And then when you start doing it, it doesn't turn out to be anything like you imagined. And I think that's what I love. I love that unknown. Like, you think you know what it's going to be about, kind of like what you were saying. You think you know what it's going to feel like, but then you actually do it, and you're in it, and it's like, oh fuck, this is this is not what I thought it was going to be. So I'm definitely, I love the presence required, because you're doing, and I love to overthink.
I love to overthink.
Yeah.
I love to overthink, and this what you're describing is something I've experienced in juggling, something I've experienced in jiu-jitsu, something that I've really experienced in Tomislav's workshops. This kind of setting an expectation of how something should be or how it will feel, or try to make sense out of it.
Yeah.
And preparing for it and creating that anticipation, and you're like, okay, yeah. And I'm gonna pull it off. I know I can. You try to do it, it doesn't work. And then you try to do it again, and it doesn't work. And you try to do it again, and it doesn't work. And you try to do it again, and it works a little bit, and then a little bit, then it doesn't work again, and then it starts working more and more and more. And the more it starts to work, the more you realize what you're doing has nothing to do with the expectation that you had of that skill or that movement, or that whatever.
Exactly, man.
And it's like a surprise.
It's a surprise.
It's a surprise. It's like the gold at the end of the rainbow kind of thing. It's like, you pursue something that is an illusion, and then you end up with something that's even more valuable.
There you go. Exactly, man.
Just skipping.
I think for me, like, when I started studying yoga, like philosophy, there's a passage in the Bhagavad Gita which talks about, it's like, you know about the Bhagavad Gita?
I know about the Bhagavad Gita, but I've never read the Bhagavad Gita. I haven't studied yoga. I've just dabbled with it.
Right. So there's a great discussion between, I guess you would say, it's between a student and a teacher, basically. Mm-hmm. It's a king and a god.
Okay.
So, the king is also a warrior. He's a warrior king, and he's struggling with the situation that he's in, and basically Krishna just drops the line. He's like, stop focusing on the outcome. You cannot control the outcome. You think you can control the outcome, but commit to the process. Be in the process. And like, I read that and I was like, yeah, like, just be in it. Just be fucking in it. And I catch myself every day, every moment, every training, like, not being in it. Like, I think I'm being in it. And it's beautiful, man. It's great. It's humbling and it's inspiring every day. And I think it's the thing that I've struggled with the most throughout my life is coordination. And like those moments that we had in Berlin, you know, and I'm just like, I'm trying to think it, you know, I'm like trying to, and now I'm like feeling it, you know, after practicing it for a few months, I'm like, oh my God, like I can feel this fucking thing, and it's not what I thought it was going to be.
If Tom was around you,
So,
though, as soon as you started feeling it, he'd be like, "Okay, now,
yeah,
okay, now,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
try
yeah, yeah,
this."
yeah, exactly,
And all the
exactly.
joy that you've experienced from feeling it would just fade. Like, just
Yeah,
let me bask in this feeling of getting it before you just
yeah,
change it. But I
yeah.
totally get the point. It's all about the process. It's not about the outcome.
Mm,
It's
mm,
all
mm.
about, trying until you get it, and then realizing that what you got is nothing. It has nothing to do with what you've thought it would be, and then just
Yeah,
constantly doing that, doing that, doing
exactly,
that, doing that,
exactly, man. And just committing to that impermanence,
and
and
committing to
that,
that impermanence. Yeah.
yeah, that it's just going to constantly change. I'm going to turn the light on quickly. I see I'm a bit dark there. I did my first yoga intensive training, which was a month every day, 9 to 5 or 8 to 6. I can't remember what it was, or yeah, 9 till 6, something like that.
Where was that?
That was in Cape Town with my teacher Jim Harrington,
Okay.
and you know, he's pretty much a lifelong yogi, um,
Could, could, could,
and
could I could I interrupt the beginning of your sentence
yeah,
by asking you if this intensive was sort of like a yoga teacher course, or was it like, what was the setting?
yeah. It was a teacher training.
A teacher training. Okay, it wasn't like
Yeah.
you guys were like, you and a crew of people that are practicing with this guy were like, okay, guys, are you interested in doing 6 to 8 hours a day of yoga? And you were like,
Oh, no, no,
no,
no.
no.
No, I was kind of doing that in my own practice, and then he hosted the training,
Okay.
this qualification, you know. So I did that, which was an incredible experience, and afterwards I was still studying my degree in archaeology. So I was living at home, still selling like photos. Like that's how I was making some money. I was taking photos at school sports, like events.
Okay.
Um, so like making a bit of money, and I was also selling yoga clothes for my friend.
Okay. Cool.
So I wasn't teaching. I was just like practicing and doing my thing. And, you know, the yoga studios and the classes that I would go to, people were like, oh, you know, didn't you do the training? Like, when are you going to start teaching? Da, 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 da. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't really, that's not what I want to do. And then I was at a studio, and the one person was like, oh, don't you want to just help me like one-on-one? And I was like, yeah, cool. Like, you know, we'd play after class and whatever. And then they were like, you should do this, like you should teach. And I was like, yeah, okay, maybe, like. And it was like that for a while, and then I was like, you know what, maybe I should just fucking do this. Like, people are asking me to do this, and I just started teaching, man. I just started teaching privates, group classes, and people were like, here's my money. And I think the main thing for me was like, I'm not like all these other dudes who've had these lifelong practices, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a master at fucking anything. I'm not. I didn't, you know, I didn't dance when I was a kid. I didn't do acrobatics. I didn't do gymnastics. I didn't do martial arts. Like, I didn't become a black belt when I was 16 or something ridiculous. And I'm still not. I'm not none of that. But what I can do is like, I can speak normal language.
Mm-hmm.
I speak normal person. Like someone who works at a desk 8 to 5 at like you know, the bank down the road, or they're a lawyer or whatever. Like, because my body is like that. Like, you know, I'm not like this super bendy, you know, super explosive ninja. And
So
that,
is what you're saying that people are they're happy to work with you because they're happy to work with you, not because of how physically crazy competent you are. Like, but it's not that you're
yeah,
not competent. You are competent and good at the skills you do, but it's more
yeah.
about they learn a way of thinking.
I think it's that, and they're like, oh, okay, so like Dave, you also like you couldn't. I'm just gonna use the fucking like I couldn't touch my toes,
Yeah.
you know. I couldn't fucking do any of that shit. I
Yeah.
like, and they're like, oh wow, so like if you practice and you learn, you know, you can grow.
Mm.
Um, and the average person, when I say the average person, like the person who works, like I'm saying, 8 to 5. You know, they're not a mover. They're not looking to become like this elite performer or like a black belt or anything like this. They're just like, they want to be healthy and they want to be able to move. They want to be comfortable in their body. And they do want to be capable. Like they want to have fun too. They want to fucking be able to do a handstand and a cartwheel and, you know, play with their kids and be able to go, and maybe, you know, if they go surf, they're not going to die. You know, and maybe they want to go for a hike. And the world is full of those people, man. And that is how, to be very honest, that's how I've made my living so far. Is hosting beginner workshops, you know, introduction to movement, introduction to meditation, introduction to handstands, you know, introduction to floor work, and being like, cool, I was an average normal person too. I say that with no, like, you know, because people take average, they take that word quite
Personally,
offensively, potentially.
personally,
Yeah.
personally.
Um,
Like,
and they're
yeah,
like, oh, okay, because I've traced the steps. Like I can rewind it. And at the same time, I don't want to spoon feed people. It's not like I'm like, okay, now do this and now do that and now do this. You know, you want people to, and everyone, of course, will experience it in their own way because they've got their own bodies, they've got their own conditioning, they've, you know, um, so
this kind of reminded me of something I noticed in one of Tomislav's workshops, which is this attitude he has towards other people coaching people in his workshops. It's like, let people find out for themselves. You know, let them try, and only if they ask you for help, then, you know, you could help them. But if they don't ask
yeah,
for help, don't coach.
yeah, man, don't rob people of their processes.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. We all need to experience it, you know, whatever we need to experience. And of course, we all want to help because you've generally, because I've been that person and I've seen that person, you know, like in other workshops and stuff. It's like, oh, I've been there. I know that exact thing that you're feeling. And you're like, you want to, you know, you want to help. But I think what something that came to my mind now, like, because this is what I've been asking myself. I'm like, what's my value as a facilitator, educator, teacher, whatever word you want to use? What's my value? Like, you know, what am I actually doing? And I was just like, maybe I'm assisting in the process of something that seems inaccessible. Maybe I'm making it just a little bit more accessible. You know, maybe I'm exposing someone to something that they haven't experienced before, which hopefully, you know, exposing people to themselves and to movement and potential and thoughts and feelings that maybe they haven't felt before. So like making the inaccessible accessible, facilitating a space for that to happen. And I think people appreciate that, man, because I appreciate that. You know what I mean? I'm so grateful for the classes and the workshops, and the trainings and the mentors that I've had and the space that they've held for me to experience myself and how that's affected my life. So that definitely has monetary value, you know. And so far, that's how I've managed to make my living. But yeah, dude, fuck. I mean, right now, like I'm in a hustle, man. Like I got to organize workshops. I got to organize series. I'm like, you know, it's like, fuck. I got
Yeah,
some
that's the
serious
thing.
work to do.
That's the thing. When you say it, it sounds romantic, right? And it's not romantic in the same in the idea that it's a romantic part of it. It's like yeah, I'm doing
Yeah.
something and I can help people and I love what I'm doing, but there's a lot of nitty gritty that
Oh,
happens
dude,
behind the scenes.
absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and like, so what's happened, like with me and Budokan, is that Budokan has become very, very clear in how they want to share their work.
Okay.
Like very, very clear. And I am not in alignment with that. So I've let go of my role as the director of Budokan in South Africa, and let go of my role as an ambassador for Budokan. And so I'm not specifically teaching Budokan anymore.
Okay.
So for a number of reasons, and you know, and so one of the things that does is like, oh shit, you know, like the
What do you mean? Oh
the
shit! Oh
money.
shit! Is in what? You're on your own now. Kind of.
Yeah, I'm on my own now, which is what I want. But it's like, and at the same time, when I brought Budokan to South Africa, I was on my own. Like I've
That's
done
the thing.
all of
It's just
this.
doing it all over again. It's basically doing it all over
Exactly.
again. You've done
Exactly.
it once. Now you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, so like I taught, you know, like this recent work that I feel has been my most personal workshops. Like it's something that I've been crafting and cultivating for as soon as I started moving. And like, okay, like some of them were like sellouts and like really good, like full attendance, and then others were like really not well attended because people were like, we don't get what you're doing. Like, what is it? Like, what's the product? And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, come and experience it, you know? And then like that, I can't help it. Like, you're like, you know, fuck. Like, I feel like this is my best work, you know? But this is the process, man, of like, because people want product, you know? People want product. People want like, they want that certification, or this is Budokan approved. This is whatever. This is whoever it is. And like
Yeah.
you can see
Well.
like Fighting
Yeah.
Monkey doing this
Yeah.
now. Like their marketing has gone up. Like in the past year, it's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
And you've done their workshops.
Yeah.
But like
But
they
this is
are.
what I'm thinking. This is what I'm thinking. You know, I had the interview with Ian 3 years ago, this week, and I had an interview with him. An interview, a conversation, because it's not. It doesn't feel like an interview. You know, it's a conversation. Anyway, I spoke to him 3 years later, and it's just very, very interesting to see how people's circumstances change and how people develop in those circumstances. You can never predict what's going to happen 3 years down the line. However, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're eventually going to get good at it. And if you kind of play with marketing, you know, eventually you get really good at it and you become something like Budokan, Fighting Monkey. Fighting Monkey is going to become bigger and bigger and bigger, the way I see it.
Definitely, man.
And it's good. It's a good thing, I think.
It's a great thing.
Yeah.
It's a great thing for sure. So, yeah, man, I'm in a very interesting process right now of like, firstly, I feel like I want a base, like I haven't had a base the past 2 years. And I'm like,
Where would
okay,
that be? Would it be in
somewhere,
home or somewhere else?
at the moment, definitely somewhere in South Africa. Um, there's 3 cities that I've worked in quite a lot over the past few years: Joburg, Durban, Cape Town, and they each have their own vibe. And I feel like I want to base down and also start to, like, like I did, dude. I grew a big community in Joburg with the Budokan, and also with what I was teaching before. And it's cool, man. Community is really important, to be able to share and bounce ideas off people and just be with people and move. And there's such a great community in Cape Town. Um, so I'll see. That's gonna happen. I've got plans till like August, and then I feel like I wanna have a base. But yeah, I'm not like, because my whole thing was like I was gonna open up a Budokan Academy in South Africa, But I was just like,
But if you were to do that, you would have you would have support from the Budokan. What kind of thing would it be? Would it be like a franchise? Would it
it's
be
a franchise,
It's a
yeah,
franchise.
yeah. And it's like that's not what I really want to do.
Okay.
But because you're in that, because I love the work so much,
Yeah.
when I say the work, I mean the physical, mental, emotional work of the practice,
Yeah.
because I love the practice so much. Then it's like, where does the practice become business, and where does the business become practice? And like, dude, the crossovers, and I think that's such a fascinating thing, man. Like,
Yeah, because that's a question everybody has to kind of face. It's like, are you willing to turn a hobby into work?
yeah.
Because a hobby is something you enjoy doing in your leisure time.
Mm, mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely feel like I know there's other ways of
People have
bringing
done
in
it.
income.
People have done
Eh?
it. This is what I'm thinking. Is like people have done it. Fighting Monkey,
Yeah.
they've done it. Uh,
Yeah.
what's his name? Cameron Shane.
Cameron Shane. Yeah.
Cameron
Cameron
Shane.
Shane.
Yeah, I mean he's done it. There's absolutely no reason why other people can't do it.
Yeah. I'm just right now, I'm like committed to my process.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about starting. I definitely don't want to develop a school or I want to learn, I want to practice, I want to grow, I want to share that with people. And I know in terms of teaching what my value is. And I love it, man. I love sharing, like, and, but definitely, dude, there's always going to be nitty gritty in everything. Grind is grind.
Yeah. Grind is grind.
Grind is grind. And
That's something they should teach kids, I think. It's like
yeah,
life is never gonna be easy. There's moments that are gonna be easy, but there's gonna be a lot of, shit
yeah,
you're gonna have to deal with, and the shit never ends. It never
yeah.
ends.
It never ends,
It
man.
never ends. You have to accept it.
It never ends, dude. And I'm fortunate that I've had a father that's drummed that into me, and I didn't want to believe it, for a long time, because
Yeah.
I'm a dreamer, dude. I'm like, flowers
Yeah.
in the hair, and like, let's be in the waterfalls, and like, everything's gonna be. And he was like, he calls it. It's great. It's a great name. I'm gonna share it because I think you'll appreciate it. He calls it dog fuck,
Dog fuck.
like one word, dog fuck. He's like, if you don't have dog fuck, you don't have a chance. He's just like, it's gonna be a bitch. It's gonna be a grind.
Yeah.
But in school, no, dude. In school,
I think this is
fucking
the
teach us
best
that,
lesson
man.
of this entire conversation.
Dog fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
this idea of the grind never ends. It never
Grind,
ends,
yeah,
and you
dude.
need to accept it sooner or later. Otherwise,
And then it kind of becomes less of a grind.
I'm so tired.
Here's an interesting thing, and I'm teaching a class in a bit, so I don't know how much time you've got.
Yeah, no, I think we could slowly bring it to
Cool.
a halt. But yeah, continue your train of thought, and then we'll end it there.
Yeah. So the people that are really, really, really high level, like I'm talking in terms of skill, and these are lifelong practitioners, right? In my experience so far, their experience and their expression of the grind is very different to like mine. So what I was saying is like masters that have been doing it since they were kids, like since they were born, they have a very, very different experience, man. And that's where like me and Richard, my friend who does the FRC, he's like me, dude. He only started exploring stuff really like, you know, in the early 20s. And then like Leela has been dancing since she was born, basically. And like her experience of movement and conditioning and practice is so different to ours, which is beautiful. But like in terms of
Different in what way?
because when you learn as a child, it's a very different experience to learning as an adult, man. And there's a very big what is the word?
Gap,
Maybe it's a gap,
discrepancy.
discrepancy between like these highly skilled lifelong practitioners who are now like, you know, leaders in their fields, and then like the average Joe, you know. And then also people who are very enthusiastic about movement, but maybe they only started when they were already adults and they didn't start when they were kids. Very, very big difference, man. And I find that conversation really interesting. And I feel like that's almost potentially where like I said, that I feel like that's where I have value as a facilitator, because I feel like I can bite-sized chunk to make it a little bit more accessible for maybe someone who's only starting now, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great conversation to have with those high-level masters, you know. And I have had that conversation, and they all have a different kind of answer to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one. Maybe you can let that seed soak for a little bit.
Yeah, we could save it for the next chat, maybe in 3
Yeah.
years.